Come on, get in here. Get in here. It's 8 o'clock. It's Monday. It's Easter Monday. Strengthen your soul starting. Get in here. Come on. We need you. You especially. We need you. It's 8 o'clock. Get in here. Come on in. We're getting going right away here. Hey, it is Easter Monday. It's great to be with you. Just a quick review of our schedule. At 8 o'clock, we open up. 8:01, we do a cheers. We take a drink together. So go grab a drink. Get something. Get your favorite drink, whatever it is. Could be coffee, could be tea, could be a beer, could be a whiskey, could be a Long Island iced tea. Who knows? It's up to you. Get your favorite drink. We're going to talk about your soul. We're going to talk about my soul. And we're gonna get a stronger soul tonight. So we take our drink, 8:02, we start talking. 8:10, we lean in. And then at 8:15, we're all wrapped up. Sometimes we're 2 minutes early, sometimes we're 2 minutes past. Tonight, I am having a Coke Zero. That's what I've got. Now, apparently, Coke Zero was branded like it's identical to Diet Coke. But it was branded apparently to be more masculine, which I guess it worked for me. And that's what I'm having tonight. And so grab a drink and let's cheers together. Let's do it in 10 seconds. Tonight we are talking about the language that moves mountains, the thing that Jesus said was most important of all, the language of heaven, this idea of faith. What does it mean? So let's cheers together. Thanks for coming. Cheers. And let's talk about your soul. I want to talk to you tonight about this concept of faith. I'll write it up here. And faith is one of the most misunderstood and misused words inside and outside of religious circles. It's one of the most misunderstood concepts of having a strong soul. And it may be one of the most important. Also, trying out a little bit of a different lighting situation here with the time change. And with summer coming, lighting's going to be trickier to figure out. So I'm trying a new one. Let me know what you think about it. I won't be able to change it because my camera's right over there. And so it'll be too much movement. But let me know if you like it this way or if you want me to go to a brighter or a darker setting. Anyways, just trying stuff out. But I want to start with a bit of a story. A lot of people have asked me, and I haven't shared this story widely. Basically, only those of you who tune in and my very close friends will know this story. It's kind of a secret between us. A lot of people ask me, why did you have kids so young? Why'd you have them so young? So many of you know that my oldest, he's 9, he'll be 10 in about a month and a half. And I'm still in my early 30s. Like, I'm 32, turning 33 in June. And my wife and I, we got married early. I had just turned 22. And 11 months later, we had our first kid, my oldest son. And a lot of people go, why'd you have kids so young? And my typical response is this: that was not our original plan. And that is actually the truth. It was not our original plan. We wanted to have a few years of just working and maybe traveling and sort of figuring out life. But we had a kid a couple of months. We got pregnant a couple of months after we were engaged. And that was not an accident. So I'm going to tell you a bit of a story, a bit of my life story. I was at this, I was working as an intern. And my wife she was working full time. She was done school. And I was working as an intern youth pastor. And so I was working with teenagers. And we went away on this retreat as a staff. And part of the purpose of that retreat was to really connect with God, like deeply connect with God. And so we did. And I can't really recall the details of what we did, but man, was it soul strengthening. And I remember separately, away from my wife, we were away for a few days, this thought came into my mind that Lauren and I, we should not prevent having kids at all. We shouldn't use condoms, we shouldn't use birth control, but nothing like that. Just nothing. And we should totally trust God with the outcome. It's a really weird thought. It was really weird. It was completely outside of the plan we had, but it was very clear in my head. It was just like a thought, my own thought, but it was a very clear thought. And I remember I was talking to my wife. I called her a couple nights into this. I think it was a 3-day retreat. And we were just chatting, and she said, I have this deep desire in my heart to be a mom. Like, I don't know if I'm just supposed to be doing what I'm doing, but I really want to be a mom. And then I told her about this thought that had been running through my head. And so separately, both of us, we felt like this, that God had spoken to us about not preventing having children and leaving the outcome to him. And so we read about how quickly people get pregnant. It normally takes on average 6 months. Some people, it's just a heartache and heartbreak season because it takes years and years and lots of help to get pregnant. And it's really hard on them. For us, it didn't take hardly any time at all. Like it was sort of like that. We were super young and super privileged, honestly, to be able to have kids so easily. And we had kids right away. And it was one of the first times that I understood what faith was like. Because there was a bunch of fear that I faced. I didn't know how things would work out. All I knew was I seemed to, in this season of going, I want to live my life in truth. I want to be deeply connected to purpose. I felt this thought come clearly into my mind. Don't stop yourselves from having children. And it happened immediately. And what was interesting about that was this. When I look back at that, I go, that was crazy. That was like super risky because we didn't have like secure employment. I mean, my wife had a job, but she was just a receptionist. I was in school. It was expensive. And yet there was this settledness that everything was going to be okay. And I want to put a frame on this idea of faith that really, really helps. And then I'll tell you a cool story afterwards. Faith, I think I told you earlier, that faith is sort of the essence of how we live life. Faith effectively is trust. Now, if you want to have a relationship with anybody, you must have an element of trust. So trust leads to a relationship. So, for example, I'll use a romantic one simply on the top of mind here. When you begin dating someone, there's very little trust. So the depth of your relationship is very small. And the more you spend time being together, talking together, dreaming together, laughing together, eating together, whatever it is, all those things, your levels of trust increase. And as your trust increases, so does the strength of your relationship. Because faith effectively is trust. I'm going to give you a list of what faith is not as well. But faith is simply, it's trust. Even here's a classic one. I'm sitting on a bar stool. I'm trusting, I have faith that it's not going to crumble before me. So the only way to operate in this world is you must actually trust and take risks. Okay, so let me tell you some things that faith is not. I'll use a black marker to lay that out for you. Faith is not thinking. So another way of putting it, faith is not blind. So some people go, I don't even think, I just have faith. That is not at all what Jesus taught faith to be. Faith was about trust. And trust actually is reasoned and examined and can increase. So when it comes to trust, like my wife and I about having a kid, we had to trust that life would actually be okay. And if you make life more personal, if you go, God would actually take care of us, and then make it even more personal. Again, depends on your degree of comfortability, but I'm telling you my experience. My trust was this, that Jesus would actually provide everything we needed if we would trust him, if we would have faith. And so faith is more than thinking. I thought about, okay, well, how are we going to pay for this? What methods are we going to take? There was a deep thinking that was involved. So faith is not blind. There's a level of trust and that comes along with thinking. Faith is also not risk-free. Some people have actually said that the way you spell faith is R-I-S-K. That faith is actually risk. That faith, trusting anyone, we understand this, involves a risk. And particularly if you want to connect with the Father of your soul, he says, you must learn to trust me. In fact, the biggest problem that people have when it comes to connecting with God is just they don't trust him. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends, maybe some of you watching, you go, I don't trust that God is actually good. Or if I pray, I don't trust that he'll hear me. I don't trust that he'll care enough. So faith is not risk-free. It actually is risk. You might say, faith is risk. Faith is, I'll just from here, faith is thoughtful. And then faith is not, this will be the last one, faith is not selfish. So faith is trust. It's actually faith, conversely, is the essence of love, or I'll put loving actually. And I'll use my finger. I'm not sure why. I had the brush right here. Didn't use it. Faith is loving. Because faith is a relational term. It's trust. So here's the idea. Totally dropped my marker. When God speaks to you, when the Father of your soul speaks to you, when he asks you to do something, he's doing it to actually strengthen your relationship. He's saying, would you trust me? Now, faith is also very risky. So faith is risky. So this is why the life-giving act of Jesus, when Jesus says, I'm going to die for you. Some of you go, I don't like that. But here's what you need to know. The reason why Jesus' death is so important is that Jesus says, I'm going to teach you how to connect with God. I actually am God. When you connect with me, you're connecting with God. But what you need to see is this. The reason why Jesus dies for you is he gives you the ultimate pledge of allegiance. Jesus goes, my love and compassion and goodness towards you is so strong that I will lay down my life for you. So he goes, I will give you everything. Now will you trust me? So you should only ever trust. So we talked about how trust is a relational word, and we trust those whom we build with. Here's the big idea is of faith. It's this, that God goes first. That Jesus goes first. Jesus risks first. Jesus is loving first. Jesus is thoughtful for you first. Jesus laid down. He actually gave of himself. He initiated the relationship first. So faith is loving, it's thoughtful, it involves risk, and it is the way that we truly live life. Again, whether you're outside of faith or inside of faith, and again, my hope is that you actually would develop a trust in Jesus through this series, that you'd see he can really strengthen your soul. So we're going to try something now. So I'm going to erase all this, but faith is trust. Faith is trust in a relationship, particularly with God, with the universe, with Jesus. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pray, because here's what happens. Often there are steps of faith that we are meant to take before we fully embrace faith in Jesus, or while we're on the journey of embracing faith and trusting God, or anywhere in between. There are steps that are actually meant to strengthen our soul, because many of our hopes and dreams and desires and the good things we would bring into this world can only come to life through faith. So here, we're just going to do one thing, and then we need to actually live it out. So we're going to think and pray all at the same time, because faith is thoughtful, and we're going to trust that perhaps God would actually speak to us in our thoughts. But here's our question for tonight. What is one loving risk I can take today or tomorrow? Perhaps for some of you, it would just be a simple thing that would come into your mind where you go, share your lunch, take a coworker out for lunch. I guess it's coronavirus season, probably not super applicable. It could be simply like call somebody and encourage them. It could be bless your kids. It could be make dinner for your family. I don't know what it is. It could be something small. It might be huge. It might be like my wife and I, one loving risk that we wouldn't prevent, conceiving a child, that we wouldn't do that on our end. We would just trust that God and life and the universe and Jesus most specifically would take care of us. I'll tell you the end of that story and then we'll try this. What was interesting is a couple of months into my wife being pregnant, I went and applied for my very first job as a youth pastor, full-time, full salary, all that fun stuff. And I ended up landing this job. It was absolutely amazing. It was a phenomenal season of my life. I will forever remember it gladly. It was a place where we had our first two children, got pregnant with our third. It's where I learned to help and love and serve so many people. Such an amazing season of my life. I met a couple of my greatest mentors in my life through it. Anyways, about a year in, I remember talking to the person who hired me, and they said, we would never have hired you. We had taken a chance on all these young people, and they kept failing us and letting us down. And you were really young. And they said, the only thing that made us go, we can hire this guy, is in the interview you told us your wife was pregnant, and we knew you had to take it seriously because your wife was pregnant. And when I heard that, my jaw almost dropped to the floor because I saw that my act of faith had opened up a whole new world of possibility for me. Just simply trusting that God knew what he was talking about. So, what is one loving risk? Let's just pray right now. What is one loving risk I can take today or tomorrow? Grab this pen. Here's the one I've got. And then you got to follow through. So here's what I got. Bless your wife's business. My wife is a certified executive coach from one of the best schools in the country. Anyways, oftentimes I can just bless her by helping her think through things, and especially by just praying, God, I'm with you in this. I'm going to sit with you and we'll just pray about what we'd like to see God do and increase our faith. So that's what I'm supposed to do. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Faith is trust. It is the thing that moves God's heart. It's the way we connect deeply with him and with others. So with all that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, or subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I hope your soul's getting stronger. Hope this is helpful. If there's anything you'd like me to address in the future, please let me know. With all that being said, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.